feel the need to defend Favreau and Filoni at every turn when it comes to these things on Disney Plus. I guarantee
he did, because he wants his money. He
doesn't care about him dying. He cares about the money.
So allegedly, aside from the fascism and racism, FNT is supposed to be where real fans can finally discuss real things within the fictional universe of X or Y character within the universe. So now it's pretty unanimous on FNT. Boba Fett is a really terrible show. They've destroyed Boba Fett. They've deconstructed him, made him into beta, feminist, Boba, stupid, Fett, whatever. And what's problematic is here, they're doing two things. They're appealing to the canon, just the films, but also to George Lucas. Apparently forgetting George Lucas did not write or direct entirely even the original trilogy or the prequels, right? He had a co-writer for Attack of the Clones. So as always, they don't know what they're talking about, but of all the idiots, of course, Ryan Kinel, who brags how much he knows the Star Wars novels, makes a complete and utter fool of himself.
You're like, oh,
he's coming back.
It's time to tell you.
4 years we've been doing this. It's a fucking laugh every day.
Do you think the Tusken, since they have to prioritize getting water and stuff like that, do you think they're limited to the amount of times they can jerk off?
These weird things that is happening in Boba Fett, because you were listing him off, Gary. I don't know. This is baffling. I'm watching it, and this thing is just standing out again and again and again. Do they have, I don't know, a phobia or something against blasters in this series? It's like guns don't exist anymore, except if they're really bad, capitalistic insert kind of on a train thing. They can have guns.
Bad.
Yeah. But it really seems like they're pushing now in this show specifically, firearm bad. Because there are so many situations they should just be using bloody guns, and they look so stupid when they don't. Like that assassination scene was one of the dumbest things I've ever freaking seen. I mean, they had this kill zone where he's walking in the middle of the street with the buildings on either side, perfect place for snipers and everything, but no, let's freaking go down with these retarded shields and whatever the hell these
He's got a jetpack that he doesn't use.
It's the same.
There's a lot going on here. One is that, wow, guys, it's really G-rated. This shows Disney doesn't know Star Wars. Almost the entire saga, 1 to 6, we're not even invoking the sequel trilogy, was PG. The only film that was PG-13 was Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith is the only PG-13 film within the saga. It's meant to be for children. And I can even quote George Lucas on that. This is for children. He said this specifically. He said this repeatedly. You may not like that, but them having G-rated violence or very little blood, that's the way he conceived of Star Wars, and they're appealing to George Lucas Star Wars. They say we get the Slave One controversy. Well, again, if you go back to the actual script, again, he didn't really have a name for it. It's just called Fett's Ship. And they even say, well, Boba only cared about the money. He only cared about the money. Yeah, Vader specifically says this. He says, well, listen, if I damage Han Solo, the Empire will pay you the equivalent amount. He's giving Han Solo to Jabba for money. Vader reassures him, don't worry, if something goes wrong, we'll pay you back, right? So it's contradictory. You're saying, back then, he cared only about the money. That's what Han Solo was so important. Yeah, Vader addresses that in the film. So they don't even know the films themselves. So it's like, what are we talking about? If you don't like this version of Boba, that's fine. And they're saying, all these people, they're defending everything Dave Favreau does. They defend Favreau and everything. Well, that's not me. I was pretty critical of No Way Home. I don't like most of the MCU. I've been very critical of it. And he's instrumental to the MCU. Really, with Favreau, it's like, okay, I really liked Iron Man. I thought that was pretty strong. And he's done some interesting work in the 1990s, but, I don't really care about most of his stuff. We're a fan of most of his stuff. And I agree, Boba Fett has issues. But, again, there's a lot of Easter eggs to the prequels and to the original trilogy. Again, maybe he messes up certain things, but I don't detect anything here where he's deliberately deconstructing Boba. I may agree, I don't like this version of Boba. I would prefer him being more mysterious and more violent. But again, within the range, this is plausible what would happen. And they keep going on that Boba is so brilliant and such a great tactician. No, we've seen this repeatedly. He makes a lot of stupid mistakes. That was intentional. He wasn't supposed to survive at all. He was supposed to be killed off in Return of the Jedi. But George Lucas, because he likes money, right? George Lucas likes money. Repeat, he likes money. Brought him back for money. He didn't care about the character. He didn't care about the fans liking the character. He was just shocked, like, oh wow, the fans really like this. There's money here. So eventually he brought him back. But his own choice was to just kill him off. And he did it for Vader, right? Because he said, well, we got to kill somebody off. So it's like, okay, we're going to kill him off in the most ridiculous fashion. But there was a fan backlash, and he responded purely on a financial basis. He didn't care about the character. So again, if we follow the films carefully with Django and Boba, I may not like this version, but it is a plausible, legitimate way to do Boba. And again, this is only one interpretation. Other people are going to do Boba, other creators. So again, a lot of crying and nonsensical, ignorant remarks. So if this is what we're getting from the commentary end of FNT, then really that's all they exist for. They just exist to be a hate, right-wing, echo chamber bunch of idiots. And you can like that if you want, but you're not going to really learn anything about Star Wars.
Came out of ultimately was there is a group of fans from the films that don't like comic sidekicks. They want the films to be tough and like Terminator, and they want to be, you know, real guy movies, and they get very, very upset and very opinionated about anything that has anything to do with being childlike, which the movies are for children, but they don't want to admit that, and or a comic sidekick, because they don't want comedy in these movies.